Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From the Queen Casino, DraftKings Sportsbook, downtown Baton Rouge. Welcome to the Monday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kenshin's back in the studio. Hope you had a great weekend. Goodness knows there was plenty going on this weekend. Some good weather, a lot of, once you got past the early part of Friday night anyway. NFL draft, great college baseball series at Alec Box Stadium. Zurich Classic down in New Orleans, which also fought a little bit of the weather. NBA playoffs went on all weekend. Jimmy, how you doing?
Good, man. I was over here Saturday, and a good day, and watched a little bit of everything on Saturday. Really good, some really good NBA playoff games. A lot of college baseball. Some hockey thrown in there as well. And they've had, that one, the last one last night was, a minute to go when they had to tie it and then lose it. So, yeah, just a little bit of, the springtime sports, man. The golf, just a little bit of everything. So it's the springtime, summertime type of menu, and even it's a Major League Baseball. Dylan Cruz and his team come down 7-1. Nola gets his best start. That's a way to break a slump. Pitch when the wind's blowing in at Wrigley, and just a wide menu, as you could say.
Yeah, Eugenio Suarez 4 home runs in a game. That was
and lose
right
and lose
4 home runs in a game. But the weekend got off to what a start if you were watching the game on Friday night. From the box, and if you were, you had to hang in there because the weather delayed this thing in the start till almost 10 o'clock. Started at 9:50, so the ending of it was not until about 1:15 or so in the morning, and you really had to hang in there if you were in there pulling for LSU, because not only did it take a long time to start the game, it took the bats a long time for LSU to get started. Liam Doyle for Tennessee, the left-hander up there at 97, 98 miles an hour and just rocketing up every draft board there is, was dominant. Probably the best pitcher that LSU has seen all year, including Kyson Witherspoon from Oklahoma, who is fantastic. But I thought Doyle was just dominant. It took LSU into the 6th inning until they got their first hit. But they did get in there, and they did battle. And Cade Anderson matched him 0 for 0 into the 6th inning, and he gave up a run. LSU battled in there into the 7th, and they got Doyle out of the game. And that was obviously what they were trying to do. They busted him up to 109 pitches, and that's part of what beating an ace is. We're going to talk about that a lot probably in the coming days. LSU's beaten some really, really good frontline pitchers, but it doesn't mean that you hit that guy. It's can you get him out of the game while you still give yourself a chance. And LSU got him out of the game when the score was 1-0. Unfortunately, the Tigers gave up runs in the 8th and 9th as well, and used Zach Cowan in that 8th inning. And going to the bottom of the 9th, it was 3-0 Tennessee. They've got their closer, Nate Snead, on the mound, and things look pretty bleak. But how do these rallies sometimes start? With a miscue from the other side. Dean Curley kicked the ball to open the inning. Then he kicked another one. Then you had a unbelievable move by Jay Johnson that worked out. Dalton Beck comes in off the bench and gets his first hit in SEC play, drives in 2 runs. And then the freshman, Derek Curiel, who has had an unbelievable year with 2 strikes, drives the ball into right field to tie the game and set the stage for Jared Jones. And Jones hit the ball 452 feet over the batter's eye in center field, and LSU won it at 1:15 on Saturday morning. It's one of those games you won't soon forget. I don't know what the win percentage was for Tennessee going into the bottom of the ninth inning, but I would say it was probably somewhere around 96, 97%. Are you going to score 3 or more runs off of Tennessee's bullpen with Snead on the mound? Most time, no. But they did in this instance. Yeah, Tennessee kicked a couple of balls that gave them a chance, but you had the unlikely hero in Beck, Curiel coming through, and Jones just he absolutely demolished that pitch. You don't see very many balls go over the center field batter's eye. I mean, that thing's 30 feet high, and it's 400-plus feet away from home plate. And he mauled that thing. And LSU got a big, big win to open the series.
With all of LSU's, all of legendary games in Alec Box Day, both the old box and the new box, that's one thing. You got a 9-6 game with 3-zip in the ninth.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Not a lot. It doesn't happen.
Tell me another one.
That
went to the bottom of the ninth with 0, getting shut out, and scored at least 3 runs.
No.
Overcame a 3 or more run deficit.
Having scored 0 runs before
Having
that?
scored 0. No, we've seen the when the pitching's done and the regionals, and it's 9-6, 12-9.
I can't think of one.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to jog both of our memories. I know I'll go a little bit further back than you on in the 80s with it, but I mean, I just don't. College baseball was all big games were like 10-9s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was 3-0. No, this is a new one. And so does it get the big boy going?
Well, I thought it would get the whole team going, really, because they have been slumping for the last 3 weeks. There's been spots here and there, like the first Alabama game, but for the most part, the bats have been a lot quieter in the last 3.5 weeks than they were in the 3.5 weeks to start conference play. And a little bit of that is the competition, but a little bit of that is they're just not hitting well. It did not. They got into the 5th inning against another very good pitcher in Marcus Phillips on Saturday, where they don't get a hit. And honestly, the offense was pretty cold. They had a couple of solo homers in the 7th when Phillips started to tire, but the offense did not get going on Saturday. Anthony Ianson pitched pretty well. The bullpen did not, but they didn't really hit the ball at all. And Jay Johnson made another calculated decision in the 8th inning on Saturday night, which was you're down a run. He hasn't brought Case and Evans into very many games when they are behind, but he's done it once or twice. He chose not to do it there. Tennessee got loose for 6 runs. They put the game away. LSU lost it, but what Johnson was figuring, and if he looked down the thing, and I think I sent you guys the breakdown of what pitching was left on Sunday. LSU went to Sunday with a big pitching advantage. Yeah. And there was Tennessee's got the same problem LSU does. These are remarkably similar teams. They have dominant top-end pitching, but the drop-off is dramatic when you get past 4 or 5. And Tennessee was out of guys, and LSU wasn't. And so you didn't know how Casey Evans was going to react to his first start. He's still a freshman. He's been great, but it was his first start. And sure enough, he went out there on Sunday. I was sitting behind home plate, a little bit juiced up, left some pitches in the center of the plate. Tennessee hit him hard in the first inning. But he held him to 2, and he settled in, and the LSU bats absolutely went to town on Tennessee's bullpen. And A.J. Russell, who they started yesterday, had pitched an inning and 2/3 of SEC play so far. They were trying to get him through 2 innings. He didn't quite make it. Curiel, homer to open the bottom of the first for LSU, and they ended up getting 4 runs in the second inning, and they run away and end up run ruling Tennessee in the 3rd game of the series. This is going to be Johnson's charge, I think, for the rest of the season, which is, how do I employ the 2 most important guys on this team, Zach Cowan and Kason Evans? Which one do I use first? Now, this Friday it's easy because Evans won't be able to pitch on Friday, but I'm talking about in a regional or in a super regional. How do I use those 2 guys? Who do I use first? Do I save Kason Evans to start on Sunday? Do I bring him in if I got a 2-run lead? Do I bring him in? I think the toughest call would be, if I'm in a tie game on Saturday, in the 8th inning or the 7th inning, do I bring him in? Because then I probably can't use him again on Sunday. 2008 team had a similar situation with Jared Bradford, who was their best pitcher. And Kason Evans might be their best pitcher right now. Did they use him on Friday nights? No. Only if they had a lead. I mean, they didn't start him on Friday nights. They would use him on Saturday if they had a lead. But if they didn't use him on either one of those days, he would start on Sunday. They can use, I think, Cowan twice in a weekend if they need to. They could use Evans twice in a weekend if it's a Friday, Sunday. It's going to be a real balancing act for Johnson as to how he uses those two guys.
Now, here's a guy that burned Skeens against a losing team, in the first game of a regional. So, I mean, that's not killing the biggest, making the biggest score. There's certainly more capable teams, more formidable teams in a regional than your 4 seed who had a losing record.
Yeah.
But when you know that, once you get out of your guy, you use them or you get lit up pretty good. It's a big drop off.
Yeah.
I mean, he might reconsider, but God, I don't know after that. I mean, that's not that long ago. So, I mean, it's you have these wild cards. I mean, this is what most people are dealing with, Charlie. This is you still got multiple guys you can really count on. Most of the teams don't have that, but use them when you can secure a win,
right?
And when you can't, I mean, like you talked about, what was the game where was the Alabama game where you used him when he was down,
right?
Okay, but Alabama, being knowledgeable of their pitching isn't that strong, especially their bullpen. You figure on, you project them making some runs. So it's a balancing act, but geez, I mean, history following him tells us he's throwing his ace, a left-hander on Anderson on the first game, no matter what.
Right.
No matter what the matchup.
Absolutely.
You playing Prairie View, or you playing, DeJuan Brazelton.
If he threw Paul Skeens against Tulane, he's going to throw Anderson against
you
against
throwing
anybody.
You're throwing him against Jackson State or Ben Sheets.
Right. He is LSU, by the way, is 11-2 when Evans pitches. He's come into a game. He went in the game of the Texas series, but when LSU was down, but it was kind of use him or lose him. They're 15-1 when Cowan pitches. And they've only brought him in twice in games where they were behind and they came back to win. By the way, the answer to your question, I knew I had read this somewhere and I forgot. LSU 3 times in their history. This was the 3rd time in the history. They've gone scoreless through 8 innings, trailed by 3-1.
Oh, really?
One of them I remember was in the SEC.
What years?
2008 in the SEC tournament against South Carolina.
Not at the box. Okay.
No, that was and against Ole Miss on the road in 1991, they won the national championship. They trailed 3-0 going to the ninth.
Because
no, that was at Ole Miss.
That's what I'm saying. No, so this is the first time at the box.
At the box,
yeah.
Yes, it was. So my thing is this. This is a really good team that still hasn't put it all together. Okay, still has question marks, and there's a lot of incomplete teams. I watched Texas this weekend. They're really, really good. And they've won, it seems like, every close game. They won 3 one-run games this weekend. They lost their ace last week for the season. So they're, still
and so they lost that luxury of having that kid throw on Sundays where he was undefeated. They put him all the way, and he won a 2-1 game.
That's correct.
And so, but they don't have that Sunday lopsided advantage now.
They do not.
Because that was a lot of the games, too, Charlie. I watched them. They were back and forth. I mean, they were all kind of 50-50 games.
A&M's just got to feel like we were one play away, in all 3 games from winning this thing. Georgia, bullpen issues. Auburn, not the best offense in the league. Arkansas, really, really good, but do they have, that hammer number 1 guy? So everybody's incomplete, and here's LSU as an incomplete team, but 14-7 in the league, 36-9 overall, top 10 RPI, 2nd place in the league. If the selections were today, they're a top 8 lock. In fact, they're probably a top 4 team right now. So you got some things to figure out, but boy, there's a lot to like.
RPI is 9.
RPI is 9, yeah, but I think the second place, their overall record is 5 or 6 games better than Auburn and Vanderbilt, who are 3 and 4 in the RPIs. I know they lost a series at Auburn, but I think if the rankings came out today, or if the tournament selection was today, I think LSU would be both ahead of Auburn and Vanderbilt, even though they're behind them in the RPIs based on their conference standing. Strength of schedule is fine. It's 35, and it's going to move up when they play Arkansas and A&M in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be fun down the stretch. There's a lot to like and a lot to.
But Texas is, they took a big blow, but damn, their resume, it's not even close.
They're great. They're 19 and 2 in the league.
Yeah,
the league's got 2 outliers. Texas is 19 and 2 largely because they're 7 and 1 in one-run games, and Missouri's 0 and 21, which nobody should be 0 and 21 in the league.
They should.
Well, I'm sorry. The program should not be 0 and 21. That team, that team, I can see.
Max?
Oh no, I was just going to mention I was there Friday, right behind Tony Vitello, actually, and it was interesting to kind of see his reaction during a game. He was pretty calm. I'll give him that. He didn't argue with the umpires too bad, and the umpires were bad in that Friday night game. Maybe the delay got to him a little bit. 1:17 by my clock was when it finished. But I'll tell you, it obviously wasn't full. A 3+ hour delay and whatnot. But it was raucous because if you were sticking around that late, you were going to be engaged in the game.
Well, that's the way it usually works.
Yeah. So. It was a huge win, obviously, and it's not very often that you go up in the rankings after getting run ruled by an in-state opponent, but that's what happened this week. LSU moved from 7 to 2 in the polls.
Charlie, a clean, no shenanigans in Austin with A&M in Texas. Schlossnagel, it would have been maybe a little spicier in College Station with that
it will
setting.
be next year, I'm sure.
But man, there was some dumbfounded A&M guys after they finally lost again, and Texas was just kind of giddy. I mean, it was they were so close. And look, we go back on this. Tennessee dominated Saturday. LSU dominated Sunday. You won the 50-50 game.
That's it.
You won the 50-50, and it sure wasn't heading to a 50-50 game.
And at Texas, when LSU was there, LSU dominated Friday, Texas dominated Sunday. Saturday was a 50-50 game. LSU lost.
Yeah.
So
I'd say LSU stole one, really. I wouldn't even say it was 50-50.
Well, they got it to where when you have it turned into a 50-50 game. Yeah, but they stole it.
They got a little bit of help.
Live over here from the DraftKings Sportsbook. I love it. All kinds of stuff. They really utilized their TVs. It was great, man. We had everything going on. NBA playoffs were unbelievable this weekend. Sometimes we don't see one. I saw a key reversal go against LeBron. I'm still trying to figure out if the ball got out of the kid for the Nuggets. If he got it in or not. It was unreal over here. The draft, you had Zurich Classic, you had college baseball. They do a good job of getting that. We watched some horse racing. You talk about a little bit of everything. And, man, that's a great thing over here about the DraftKings the sportsbook and the kiosks and the tellers. Very efficient, know what they're doing, but plenty of kiosks as well. The betting menu. The betting menu is really diverse, and they did have a good menu. A lot of people couldn't bet in Mississippi on a draft. You could bet in Louisiana. You could bet right here at your local sports book, the DraftKings Sportsbook. And just a minute walk from where you park over into the restaurant, the sportsbook side. Always great staff over here. Cliff, Tommy, Scotty, the whole staff over here does a great job. My buddy Andres, of course, over here at the DraftKings Sportsbook at the Queen Casino.
Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show's available on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. We'll have a new Handycast on LSU baseball. Doug Thompson, Dan Canterbury join me. That'll drop later this afternoon. Saints draft, 9 picks. 9 picks. Started with 9 picks and made 9 picks. They made no trades up or down in the draft. And here's what I like about this draft. And I'm not gonna tell you that I have a detailed scouting report on Vernon Brockton or Jonas Sanker or Quincy Riley. Here's what I like, and this is just a quick thumbnail. Every player the Saints drafted played a lot of productive football in college. A lot. Calvin Banks had 42 career starts at Texas. Tyler Shugg had 31 career starts. He played at 3 different schools. Brockton played 56 games at Texas. He was a starter his final year. Sanker at Virginia was a 3-year starter and team captain and led the ACC in tackles twice. Danny Stutzman at Oklahoma was a 3-year starter. Quincy Riley was a 3-year starter at Louisville. Devin Neal was a 4-year starter at running back at Kansas. Molokai Matavo at UCLA played 50 career games at Oregon and UCLA. And Fadil Diggs at Syracuse played 45 career games with 24 career starts at A&M and Syracuse. I'm not going to go through every one of their stats. You can get them. But every one of these guys was productive. Not one of these guys was one of these measurable guys that, oh, wow, if he ever develops, he's going to be really good. Every one of these guys was a highly productive player at their school, and they all played major college football. Are they going to be great pros? Who can say? I'm not going to try to tell you I know all of that, but I do know that all of them had high production. The Saints used all of their picks. They didn't squander any draft capital. This is how you rebuild a roster. They signed another 11 rookie free agents. Jimmy, if New Orleans, that's 20 rookies that are going to go to camp. If 8 or 9 of those guys make the team and can play, this will be a real step in the right direction of getting younger, getting cheaper, getting better, and rebuilding the roster. So I'm not going to tell you that, hey, Sanker's going to definitely come in and play this, or Stutzman's going to come in and play this. All I know is
you don't know who's going to be good.
I don't. I don't. I can get. I would be shocked if Calvin Banks is not a very good NFL player for a long time, based on what he did at Texas. But I don't know that for sure.
You want to talk? Some mock drafts not having a whole lot of shelf life, although they're fine. But go back and watch the draft grades.
Yeah.
I can remember Sports Illustrated one time. Anthony Thompson, the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
You remember him setting all kinds of rushing records for the Saints, huh?
At Indiana. I remember setting rushing records there. But
well, he's drafted to play.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing much with the Saints. All of these guys,
it's impossible to evaluate a draft right now.
So that's all they can do.
And my other thing is with the draft, the grades are teams that had more draft capital, they get more higher grades.
Yes.
You better have a higher expectation. You have a higher grade scale for teams with more trade capital.
Draft grades are based on what teams did, reflective of what those guys doing the grading had on their board. All of Mel Kiper's draft grades are based on his expectations. Okay, that's why Cleveland got an A+.
The Giants giggle. The Giants, got the guy. Didn't panic early and still got a quarterback. Okay, that's fine, but I don't think he could play.
Right.
All right. So so we'll see how that works out. Daboll's comes for his job. Watch who he starts. He's starting Russell Wilson.
Sure.
Now, if he struggles, if they're winning, then make 6-7 games. But I said that before that they're fighting for their job, and Russell Wilson gives them. But they could not take a quarterback with that 3 pick because that. Carter is a guy that's got to be up there. Charlie, it's hard to say. I mean, how many of these guys, they held their picks. They didn't give any picks away.
Yeah.
And as far as we still going to tie Loomis to the impulsive moves up that we've done in the past when Peyton was there, and then he garnered that reputation. Saints never moved down. Saints never moved down. They always move up. Well, they didn't move up here.
No, they did. There was some moves up in between when Peyton left and now with Kellen Moore there. Most notably, the trade with the Eagles, which the Eagles have at this point in history have won that trade pretty significantly. But no, he held everything. They're not 1 or 2 players away. There's a lot of good, productive.
No doubt about that.
There's a lot of good, productive football players in this draft. That's
how many have a transfer history?
Shug played at 3 schools. Broughton was at Texas the whole time.
Think he's an NFL quarterback?
I can't say for sure. I think he's got potential. He's got a big arm.
I think odds are against him.
If he were a can't miss, he doesn't last to 40. But I don't think he's without.
You saw him play?
Potential. Yeah, I did. I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
I thought he was okay. Yeah. I'm willing. The Saints haven't taken a quarterback. I didn't realize this till I read it yesterday. The Saints haven't taken a quarterback in the first round since Archie Manning. That stat is still out there. But they haven't taken one in the second round since Archie Manning either.
So Heath Schuler was drafted by the Redskins first.
Yes, yeah. Now they took Dave Wilson in the supplemental draft, but in the regular
draft,
that
was a first round pick.
Yeah. In the regular draft, they have not taken one in the first or the second round since 1971. In fact, here's one for you, Jimmy. What's the highest quarterback they've taken since Manning in the common draft? It was it's a goofy name. Garrett Grayson in 2015. You knew that?
Boom, I knew that one.
You knew that one?
Yes. But.
And the Saints did draft one guy who was a productive starting quarterback, multiple-time Pro Bowler, I believe. He just didn't play for the Saints. They took Mark Bulger in the 2000 draft in the 6th round. Ended up having a nice career with the Rams. But, you're bringing in 20 guys, 9 of them in the draft. Look,
you capped your picks, yes.
If 8 or 9 of these guys make the team, you're going to turn over.
This whole draft, I'll say it even after the first pick. The first pick in this entire draft does not give you an indication that this general manager feels pressured.
No.
This is actually done with some vision. This is a long term. Don't trade away the picks for your impulsive overreaction. By the way, they're taking your impulsive overreaction to a whole new level. Pistons coach, you can't take your only challenge in the first 5 minutes. You can't do that, bro.
I didn't see that one.
You might have used it on that last call, that non-call. That might have been useful.
I don't think they can do that, right? There's got to be a whistle for them to challenge it.
Maybe so.
Unfortunately, I don't think it was challengeable. But
there's no defense in an NBA game. No, you
They're big
you don't
spots.
even look to your bench. You don't even look to your But anyway, no, Charlie. This is, like
I said, if you get
Saints are on their way back.
If you get
Faith, Hope, and Mickey, let's go, baby.
8 or 9 of these guys make the team, you will have turned over somewhere between 15 and 20% of your roster into what you hope are productive rookies. That's a good start.
So who's going to be the starting quarterback?
I have no idea. Derek Carr was on stage yesterday. He was at church. Did you see him at church?
No.
He gave the sermon at church.
Okay.
And he talked about
in Las Vegas.
Yeah, in Las Vegas. Yeah. And he says, "Hey, look, I got an MRI. I can prove that I've got an injury. The team knows about it. Why does everybody have to have an opinion about this?" And so, because you're under contract and you're not with the team, and the general manager doesn't want to talk about what your injury is, and nobody seems to know. And they're kind of
hard to be enthusiastic about the Saints. They've given us a lot of reasons why. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings, 296-0060. For all of your real estate closings. Our great long-standing staff, Ashley Bonham Donald, Mariana Broussard-Haynes, Adrian Reese-Galata, Michael Platt, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Choose Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at the Queen, live at Lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. 3 best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
All right, Troy, we talked to you on Friday and got the first round recap. I saw you had some a betting menu on Shador. How long did the Shador bets last throughout the weekend?
Yeah, well, pretty decently considering you didn't go until Saturday afternoon around 2 or 3 p.m., I believe. And when I checked it last night and this morning to look to see how people bet on it, I was anticipating a lot more. Bets we took a little bit, but, there are limitations to the draft. So, probably only 2/3 of our markets offer draft odds. So, but I was expecting that to be the most popular one to kind of match the public discourse throughout the entire weekend, which was obviously dominated by his draft slot. It didn't match up. for whatever reason. And sometimes you see that where we're talking about something and it doesn't always align with how people are betting. And perhaps, if he was just sliding so much, it doesn't make sense to bet on him because you just have no idea if any team is interested. Even though, for a long time, the Browns were the favorite. By a long time, I mean Friday morning and Saturday morning, the Browns were the favorite to draft him. But once they took Dylan Gabriel, they moved, I believe, right before the draft started on Saturday, they were 25-1 to draft Shedeur Sanders. So there's great odds there. If you were on it, you just figure once they draft a quarterback, they're not going to draft another one. But, I mean, expect the unexpected from this wild NFL draft.
This time last year, Shedeur Sanders was -$2 to be the number one overall pick. And we know that shifted and certainly shifted. The draft day is always the most volatile. The lines are going everywhere. Everybody, things are, the lines are just really active. Was the betting public? He obviously fell, so you'd like to have the overs on Shedeur Sanders, over under. So 8.5, 13.5, 23.5, 33.5. I saw, from, to go into the first, the second day to be the first pick of the second round, basically. Did the betting public win on the Shedeur Sanders over unders or lose?
No, they lost. Predominantly on the 8.5. That was, I believe, our third or fourth most popular and most wagered on positional over/under. And I mean, that was a quick loser. And I'm not entirely sure if we offered updated over/under positional pick numbers. That's one thing I didn't see. So I'm not sure if it was updated to, like you said, 32.5 or 102.5 or whatever. But I do know from just this first round over/under, that was one of the bigger losers for the public.
Yeah. Any other to put a recap on the draft? Anything else that we missed that we didn't discuss after round one?
No, it really, I think some of the biggest winners in terms of long odds were all in the first round. I believe Tyler Warren not being the first tight end drafted was a big loser for the public. We took some significant bets on that. But at the same token, people picked up big wins on Colson Loveland. I believe, you could have got him like 20-1 to be the 10th pick, I believe. Kelvin Banks at number 9 was also, he was 20-1 at some point. So there's some really good long odds winners from the NFL draft, specifically on teams to select positions. I think I mentioned this on Friday, but, the Buccaneers to draft a wide receiver with their first round pick, that was 25-1. And, because they obviously have Goodwin and Mike Evans getting up in age, so, they jumped at the chance to get, who did they get?
Emeka Egbuka. Yeah. Love that pick, by the way. But so, we didn't take not a ton of action on the second and third round, but we did end up, the public didn't end up winning overall. And like I mentioned on Friday, this is, I think, the 5th year that at the end of the draft, the public has taken more money than has put in.
Yeah. So it was way less. Everybody. I think everybody's report was like a little bit here. So just kind of a small winner, a small loser is what they most of the people talked about. So, but I think that the mobile sports books are. I mean, it's draft related. Charlie, if we were betting with the local bookmaker before, we could bet legally here. I mean, they weren't putting out odds on a draft. You didn't have a draft menu. We thought we had to go to Las Vegas. Then we realized after doing this that they have the worst menu, and in some states don't have it at all. And like Troy said, about a third, do not. Troy, did you say 2/3 do allow it, or about 2/3 do not allow it?
2/3 do allow it. If I guess, I would say probably we're in 18 regions or 18 states, including Alberta and Ontario, and I think 6 of the 18 don't allow it.
Okay.
It's information based.
Yes.
It's not anything you can plug into an algorithm. You have to adjust on the fly if you're going to offer live betting on this based on what happens right there. I mean, it's a really hands-on thing, and a mistake could be very costly for you. So I understand why the books are a little bit tentative about it.
When your algorithm comes in, when you start – I'm sorry, Troy, go ahead.
and you guys remember 2 years ago now it was the NBA draft, but the day of the draft where it was Paolo Banchero and the player from Auburn, and all it took was one report to drastically shift the odds. As we know in this industry, a lot of it is driven by agents who are trying to get information out there to change the perception of what other people think is going to happen. So it is incredibly volatile, and in some ways the news that we get is not the most, not legitimate, but it's being pushed out to help drive up or drive down a team's want or a player's want to go to a specific location.
We were doing a show that night with Paolo Banchero and Jabari Smith flop positions 20 minutes before the draft about.
Yeah, but that was basically the most respected information guy. Woj got one wrong. Yeah. And okay, he gets 99 out of 100
Nobody's
right.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? So, but he is so respected that it's information based. And you had one guy even tweet out that Jackson Dart was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Well, this guy actually had a pretty solid record of unveiling some SEC football information, and he was very wrong on this one. So I mean, that's what you do, and I understand, but I just wish that they would offer something just at smaller limits, because the one thing you can adjust, Charlie, the algorithm is based on the action. Okay, with every 300, 600, you move your line. And, you move it to enough, they'll bet the other side eventually. So, it's that's where you can keep up without, you're not going to, your staff of, a handful of guys, let's say, is not going to be able to keep up with everybody in the country.
And let me just use the most specific example. What did Shadur Sanders' odds go to if you could have done it in real time? His odds to go in the first round before the Steelers pick and after the Steelers pick. They would have dropped significantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, everybody had zeroed in on that Steelers pick.
And so that's the most obvious example.
But when Carr came out with his injury, there was a lot of push.
Yes.
That's when they put him at 8.5.
Yeah.
So it's when he should have put it at 9.5 or right after him. But anyway, and the Saints were not picking him. Well, 32 teams passed on him. So was he going down drafted until Jimmy Haslam stepped in?
I think somebody would have taken a flyer late, but I can't tell you for sure. I think somebody would have taken him in the 6th or 7th time. 6th or 7th round's about, hey, let's throw a dart and hope we hit on something.
And I know they've discussed it a lot, but I think it is. You say, hey, you'd rather go undrafted than late. You've heard that a bunch because you can pick and match with your team.
Correct.
Pretty much every NFL agent and former players kind of agree with that. Which one would he have picked? This is it, huh?
No, well, I'll tell you who I would have picked for him. I would have picked the Rams. I would have gone to the Rams to work with Sean McVay. Matthew Stafford's probably going to play one more year. Okay. And that's a strong enough coach to deflect the media scrutiny. He's very secure in his position. I would have picked the Rams if I would have been Shadur Sanders. But
I got to digest that a little bit, but the Cleveland ain't far behind. It might be number one. Okay, Flacco is going to be. He's probably going to take the first snap.
Cleveland would have been right there behind him.
Again, I think I got plus 300 on that right now, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would take that right now, that he is the same. They don't want to – they're not going to rush. The entitlement. Everybody's reluctant to just hand him the job, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of that's one of the reasons he slid.
Cleveland would have been right there. Yeah. But I would have picked the Rams.
You got to take Dylan Gabriel over him?
No.
And that's Shador wants to spend his professional career in Cleveland, though. This is not just about snaps. This is about where his brain can be the best, where the weather's the nicest. So whether or not the Raiders or the Cowboys or someone wanted him, if he was picking, he clearly doesn't care what anyone else thinks. So he would have just been like, I'm going here because this is what I want best for my legendary brand. And I assure you that Cleveland was not it.
No.
But I think his brand is at stake, and it doesn't matter in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, your brand is going to be fine, and if he, what he's supposed to be doing is not doing a whole lot of partying and other things. He needs to be focusing on football, and those facilities in Cleveland aren't much different than living. Yeah, they got maybe some better restaurants and some better towns and things like that. But I think it's pretty obvious. His brand is going to be if he gets cut in 2 or 3 years. I mean, Johnny Manziel's brand was pretty damn good too. How's that doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's done. So, I mean, he is, and it's $1 million question. How much was because who do you think pushed for him to get for a guy that won 10 games in 2 years to get his jersey retired? That's all his dad. And so that's you don't want to make it. That's making it harder on your son, man. I mean, we don't know if he's good or not, but damn it, he is better than some of those guys that went after him in the second to fifth rounds. I know that, Charlie. Huh?
I would. I think it was a combination of things. Some teams probably didn't have as high a grade on him as some of the media did. I think the Deion factor was real. It wasn't the only factor, but it was part of it. There were reports that he didn't do well in some of the interviews. I'm sure that had some part of it, but he's not the first guy to, blow an interview. I think there were parts of it for everybody. There were different pieces of this for every different team. Sean Payton came out and said, "Man, he blew it away at Pro Day. He was great." Well, you had 5 chances. I know you got your quarterback. You had 5 chances to take it.
Right. Now we say follow what they say. I mean, what they do, not what they say. Troy, you got any picks in the NBA?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you where the public is, and we've long talked about public teams, obviously the Dodgers, even Notre Dame and whatnot, and obviously the Los Angeles Lakers, and they were an incredibly public team, in the wake of the Luka trade. The book has been losing money these last 2 games because the public is on the Timberwolves and obviously winning the last 2 games. And it's a bit of a surprise to me. Small market team. Obviously, they have Ant-Man and Anthony Edwards has been sensational, but I'm just very surprised that we've been taking a lot more money on the Timberwolves than the Los Angeles Lakers with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And it was a massive loss, mid to high 6-figure loss on was it last night's game or the most recent game in the favor of the public on the Timberwolves. So that is a little bit. That
surprises me. Yeah,
right,
that definitely surprised me, and I'm getting a little different reports. At least in Game 3, there was a lot different reports at different books across the country. That and a lot of the Las Vegas based places because Vegas is such a Laker town. Troy, thank you, man. We'll talk to you on Friday. We appreciate it.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
All right, guys. Don't forget our friends over at Los Reyes Mexican Grill. Of course, Saturday routine. Come over here to the Queen on the way home. Went by and saw Kyle over at Los Reyes. Really nice crowd. Doing a nice job. Had me a little margarita. Had me a little burrito. The fajita chicken burrito. And the fresh guacamole with some fresh jalapenos. Always really good stuff at Los Reyes Mexican Grill, man. Go by and check them out, man. Great stuff. And great for you're playing tournament ball down the street. Hey, call ahead of time. We'll make room for the whole team. Eat a table of 14 anywhere to 24, no problem. Just call ahead so we can have it ready for you. Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee, just off of Nicholson across from Mike Anderson's.
Live at the Queen, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
7 LSU Tigers drafted in the NFL this weekend. Will Campbell in the first round of the Patriots. Mason Taylor in the second round of the Jets, where his dad played his final season. Emory Jones to the Ravens in the third. Savion Jones to the Broncos in the third. Braden Swinson to the Patriots in the fifth. Miles Frazier to the Lions in the fifth. And Garrett Dellinger to the Ravens in the seventh round.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at the DraftKings Sportsbook here at the Queen. Beautiful screens here in the Sportsbook. Man, what a great place to watch ball games. goodness knows we watched plenty of them here. There were a lot this past weekend. You get to watch the golf a little bit.
Yeah, watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had some TV problems yesterday. Max, you went down to New Orleans for the Zurich, for part of the Zurich.
Record crowds, and that's saying something because it was hot, and usually then they had some weather, but it was all about Rory, man. And Lowry too. But they were Did the following for Rory and Lowry, that was about pretty much half of the entire.
You could tell.
Max, you were down there.
You could tell from across the course where he was at all times because you could see just the mass of people following whatever group he was in. And granted, the tour courses do a good job of kind of loading a couple groups, the key groups back to back, so you can get kind of ahead of Rory, and you'll still see a pretty good group. That's kind of made for TV purposes, so they don't have to bring cameras everywhere. But it was everyone was kind of on one part of the golf course at a time, depending on where the good groups were.
Didn't this play out exactly like the Zurich would have wanted it to when they shoot 61 on Saturday to put themselves in position for Sunday? I mean, if they shoot the 72, which they shot on Sunday, on Saturday, and then they shoot the 61 from back of the pack on Sunday and still finish well off the lead, that's not nearly as good as having them in a share for the lead on Saturday where you can really get a build-up for that.
Right, and there were some good groups that missed the cut, right? Colin Morikawa missed the cut.
What's that with that little one-handed finish for every shot?
Morikawa?
Yes.
I missed that because I was there live. I saw him on one of the holes down the stretch, and they were kind of already out of it. So I missed. They were 4 over when I saw them, so they were out of the tournament.
Well, the commentators said, I'm sure he's going to fix this. He's a one-hand finish again. A one-hand finish again. It was like he was pissed off or something.
Yeah, a little bizarre. He is a Zurich ambassador, so he kind of has to be there.
I get it.
Busy and stuff throughout the week, but yeah, that was a little shocking to see them not make it. But I'm sure the Zurich would have hoped for Rory and Lowry to win, so they could come back next year. I'm not sure if they'll be back next year, but overall, you had a tight finish with what we could see on TV because we did lose some of the TV coverage at one point. But it seemed like a lot of people out there who I talked to had a really good time and watched some good golf.
Well, it's a party. I mean, it's you cannot watch as much golf as you do on TV. It's just not like that. So a lot of the hospitality tents are popular, but as an avid golfer, you can follow your guy that you really want to, see him firsthand and do like that. But if you're trying to follow the actual who's leading, who blew it, who put in a drink, at the end, no, you can't. It's hard to do.
Thursday and Saturday are the much better viewing days in person because you're getting to see a best ball format. You're getting to see more golfers play, 4 golfers in a group, and it's also really challenging to watch. I find on TV in the best ball format just because they birdie pretty much every hole. You had 58. Shot on Thursday, so it's kind of hard to follow leaderboard at that point. It is a lot easier to watch it on TV on a Friday and Sunday when it's alternate shot, when there's less golf balls being hit. But yeah, it is a party, like you said.
So my question has been...
They stay with it's a gimmick format. I mean, it's a break, it's an exhale, it's a little less grinded. Didn't look exactly. Did you ever get the indication that Rory and Lowry were grinding at it? Right? Of course not. I mean, you got Morikawa with his one-handed fin. That was. I have to call him in, man. If I'm Zurich, say, come on, man. At least trying to put on a better face than that. But does it stay?
Is it the event
is it the
healthy?
Best interest of the whole event?
I think so.
The event appears healthy. This is the 8th year. You missed the COVID year, so it's been 9 years since they made this format change. You are still getting good fields. You're not getting every top player in the world, but the New Orleans event never got 15 of the top 15. The purses are healthy. It's not an elevated event, but the purses are healthy enough. The crowds are still coming out. Your record crowd on which day, or for the
weekend?
For the weekend. Okay, so you're still getting that. You still got TV coverage of it, although they had the technical problems this weekend. I think the event's in good shape. The question is, we'll ask Rabelais about this on Wednesday because he's always down there. But is this event better off remaining in this format or going back to the other format? If you go back to the other format, it's just another tournament. At least here you've got a hook. It appears as if this is a pretty good event. It's never going to be one of the top 6 or 8 events on the tour, but it's got a place. And apparently, I think yes, it continues. That's just my read from the outside.
I can name a lot of tournaments that are monotonous. They're kind of the same. They're not great fields. They're not great golf courses, but they're there. And this is something different, right? I used to like the match play, which they don't have anymore, because at least it was different than what you see
in Austin, right?
Every week. That was in Austin more recently. They got rid of that. So this is at least different. I do think we could eventually see perhaps a mixed field event here. Maybe they incorporate the LPGA at some point if they feel like this is not going long term the way they want to see it. The European side of things, they do something similar. They have a DP World Tour, and they mix with some ladies and pair in that way. So maybe that's something they might pursue down the road. The Olympics is going to add a mixed tournament, so there will be a gold medal for a mixed U.S. team, perhaps, with Nelly Korda and Scotty Scheffler perhaps pairing together. So they are doing that in some capacity. Maybe we'd see the Zurich approach that, but it has helped them. I mean, there's no doubt that they've gotten some decent young winners out of this format. Cam Smith won a team format. He's gone on to much bigger and better things. Maybe we'll see that out of first-time winners, Novak and Ben Griffin. But it's something different which separates itself, because otherwise it's in a really, really bad spot in the calendar. Right after the Masters, right after an elevated event, it could be skipped over.
It's always thought that it's kind of jumped before or after the Masters and things like that. The one thing that it has, some of the wives and the families, they like to come in to New Orleans, maybe part of Jazz Quarterfest or Jazz Fest or French Quarterfest. It kind of rotates. It falls on either one of them. Every year. It was Jazz Fest, obviously, this year. But you've got that. They got other things to do. And so, I mean, it's but usually sort of these gimmicky formats, they have a shelf life. And but this is the perfect storm. Now, they can sit back and say, well, I don't think they'll change it, Charlie, because you're not going to change anything when it's broken. It's certainly not broken with a record crowd. But they're not going to set these type of crowds when you have the last year's champions goes and completes a career slam in the Masters. I mean, this is the perfect. This is everything but
draw.
Tiger coming in his
This
prime.
is the biggest draw that they've ever had.
Absolutely.
In Rory. I mean, and Jack Nicklaus played in New Orleans in the 70s and 80s, and Rory at this point in his career, I mean, you couldn't have done any better.
I was working at Windsor Court. Tom Watson was there.
Phil Mickelson played in the Compact Classic. So they've had big names before, but never did you get a big name coming off of this kind of career achievement.
I would like to give the tournament organizers some credit. I think they do a good job with what they have. They do a lot of things right. I think a lot of the players appreciate some of the accommodations in terms of getting them to and from the airport. They always get graded pretty well on that. They also they send out surveys if you go to these. I thought there was a time where their food options weren't great, considering it's in New Orleans. They didn't have a ton of food options. They've improved that drastically over the years. This year they added a different parking spot. It was a lot easier from what I heard. I didn't use that parking, but there was a new entrance. They used to only have people go through one entrance. Now it's over by the little motorsport park now. So they've made some changes to the tournament. They're trying to improve the tournament every single year, and I think they do a good job of that. But ultimately they are going to be capped by just a lack of history at this tournament, and this spot on the calendar isn't a really a tough part of the schedule.
And it only makes it tougher when they went to the elevated too.
Right, I mean, the Heritage is now even a better field right before it.
Absolutely,
yeah. They're still managing to draw some of the biggest names. In the last 6 years, John Rahm has won this event, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, and Lowry and McIlroy. So you've had some of the biggest names in golf go there, and you still do.
I'm curious what we'll see next year, right? Because Schauffele and Cantlay didn't play this year for the first time in some time. Lowry and McIlroy don't really have a need to go anymore. You typically defend your title. I don't know if they'll be back. So we'll see what the field looks like next year. I think that's the first real test that they've had in quite some time.
And one of the biggest issues you have with some of the smaller events is they have, at least to my knowledge, a very strong title sponsor that is not planning on going anywhere.
I think they just renewed.
It did.
They're good through 2030. I believe.
Remember when the Honda Classic lost theirs?
They could have felt slighted. I mean, they could feel like they were slighted on the calendar, slighted in terms of an event. I think Zurich has to be happy in this current format. They have a little bit of a life.
Yeah, what you're saying. They're making the best out of what they got. I mean, So, that's no, it's not going anywhere.
We did see a good finish. It seemed like it might be a runaway that Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin will win pretty
They were
easily.
tied. Max would lead until the guy dumped it in the water.
Right,
huh?
but early on, the front nine, they had a 3-shot lead. It felt like it might get away from them, but they made a couple bogeys on 8 and 9, and that kind of brought the whole field back into it.
Well,
you had the Højgaard twins, who are a good international. I think that's the one thing you could appreciate. They do get some decent international teams, and the Højgaard twins had their chance. A little bit of a shaky situation on 18 where they get a very, very comfortable drop. But Jake Knapp and Frankie Sappin, unfortunate for them, being there tied on the last couple holes. Sappin rinses one on 17. So it's a good finish, at least, in that it creates some drama at times throughout the years.
Højgaard brothers, thank you. Yeah, I mean, y'all just kept them just at arm's length. Never really... Just close enough to make you frustrated. Just couldn't get there. Couldn't quite get there.
Guess who Jimmy had a ticket on?
I can't put a name to it.
We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store and their sister property, the Pierre Part Store. Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. The Cajun Cooking Specialty Cookware shipped right to your door. You can shop now online at doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. So many different options for you. Jambalaya pots, crawfish pots. If you go in store, the big green egg cookers and all the accessories are there. And the specialty items that you can get along with that cookware. For any outdoor chef, this is going to be where you want to do your shopping, Jimmy.
I mean, you saw people tailgating for the LSU-Tennessee game. This is
I tailgated with them.
You can load up, man. Your outdoor kitchen, your tailgates, your festivals, whatever it is going on right now. It is a little slice of heaven. It is. I mean, it gets you excited, man. You go in there, every little gadget, every little cooking option. It's an absolute must visit to the Thibodeau Store and the Pierre Part Store if you're an outdoor chef like myself.
Online, it's doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. Live at lunch from the Queen, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Well, if you in between the baseball, the NFL draft, and the golf, you managed to sneak in some basketball this weekend. There were some pretty good games on Saturday, and again on Sunday you had the Knicks by a point. The Lakers lose at the very end. Did have a couple of blowouts, but some good playoff basketball this weekend. Jimmy, the story about how the Lakers game ended, a call at the end that was reviewed. The Timberwolves get that call. They get the win there. The Knicks and the Pistons. You talked briefly about that. I know you had a chance to watch that entire game. And then tonight we've got the Cavs trying to finish out with the sweep against the Heat, and the Warriors leading the series with Houston, and that's 2-1. That's tonight. The end of the Lakers game. That's the end
of the Lakers game. T-Wolves are up 1. It's just like Game 3. Lakers were winning most of the game, had double-digit leads in both of them, and then with the crowd, Ant-Man, just the T-Wolves wouldn't go away. Really, really tough wins for Minnesota. Two wins that got away from you from a Lakers perspective. But it looked like they were going to get the last shot, and it went out on Minnesota. But when you review it, there was a foul beforehand. Mm-hmm. Is it a foul that would be called? Well, the way a lot of these games have been officiated, probably not. But technically, he fouled him, and so then this is where your replay gets it kind of over. I'm not going to shed any tears for the Lakers or LeBron James, but I felt a little like I needed a shower after I cashed that ticket. I ain't gonna lie, Charlie, and ain't many of those. All right, I just didn't feel like they deserved the 2 free throws right there. I
got in from the baseball game in time to watch the last 40 seconds of this thing, and I'll be honest with you, I'm like watching it live in the playoffs. That's not a foul. I mean, that's not something that's called a whole lot. I didn't watch the whole game, so I don't know about game flow and how the whole thing. That's why I'm kind of leaning on you there. But and if you go back and watch the replay, yeah, there's contact. In the playoffs, I don't think that that's a foul. But again, I didn't watch the whole game. And then they get a shot off late or don't.
Here's the thing, though. We all want to anoint, J.J. Redick as the next czar of coaching. I mean, you played all your same 5 every second, the second half. Huh? These guys, you got some guys that obviously need a little break. I mean, you played 5 the whole. That's an extreme. That's an extreme coaching decision that garners attention. It works or it doesn't. It didn't work. And especially how you lost game 3. How'd you lose game 3? Fourth quarter. Yep. The fourth quarter, our older team wore down. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to make it tougher on your old roster in the fourth quarter by playing them every second? That makes no sense. And so that is I don't know, but I mean, I like some of the things it does as far as his personality. He'll stand up. It seems, at least, he'll stand up to the superstars. But, man, this was just – he's just starting. But I would like to pump the brakes on some of the praise that he gets. And then he after this one, because you can't lose 2 games like that unless you're way better than your opponent. And these 2 teams are really close.
Yeah, and
they're really, really close. You had two blowouts in 2 50-50 games. They just fell both Minnesota's way, and that's hard to make up for.
The wide angle lens on this series, the Lakers could have won Game 3. They could have won Game 4. They didn't win either one of them. They won Game 2 in a blowout.
I thought they were on their way to winning both of them, to be honest.
Okay, so when I assume the Timberwolves are going to win this series now. When you back up, you're going to say, which of these games doesn't fit? You're going to go back to Game 1 and go, where were you? Because they didn't show for Game 1. And Redick got on them, and LeBron wasn't there, and Luka didn't have a good game either. You got blown out in Game 1 in your building. And if they had won that game in whatever fashion they had won it, you'd be 2-2 going back to L.A., and everybody would think that the Lakers were going to win this series. That's when this series is over, I think that's the game you'll go back and look like, wait a minute, competitive, Laker win, competitive in games 3 and 4, Laker winning game 2. You didn't show for game 1.
I'd like to get to the similar 2 games in Detroit, where these games are right to, Pistons, Knicks come out killing them, up 16, and they start dragging it down. Then they're starting to try and get back in the game, down about 6 or 8, and Brunson goes down with a knee injury. And then the Pistons build their big lead. They're up by as much as 10. And then he comes back, and guess who it was? The guy who's got all the talent in the world. He doesn't play. Karl Anthony Towns hit some shots that were unbelievable. That very few guys in this league can make, certainly in the playoffs. And he made these shots that were unbelievable. You come down to the end of the game, was he fouled? Bickerstaff, but Bickerstaff can't lose a challenge 5 minutes into the game. You can't challenge anything in the first half the way these games are going. So both games, 3 in Detroit, 3 and 4, the Knicks come out of there with some close, hard-fought victories. Yes, he was fouled, definitely fouled at the end, but when there's no review involved, they're going to eat the whistle a lot of times. Magic. Wait, can
I ask one thing about that game? Remember the one game that the Knicks lost in this series? How many shots did Towns take in the fourth quarter?
0.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Well,
yesterday he's making shots, right?
The degree of difficulty on these shots it was pretty unbelievable.
Because he's a scorer. He can play.
Yeah. Max, you got anything on those?
Well, I was just going to mention, the Timberwolves, don't forget, they were the odds-on favorite to win the finals last year when there were 4 teams left. Now, they ended up losing in that Western Conference Finals.
Once they won Game 7 in Denver.
Yeah, they're kind of going under the radar this year. And Naz Reid, by the way, just wanted to shout him out. 2 big threes in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, Naz is a star.
Yeah.
Period. He plays defense. I mean, he's a star. He's just a face-the-basket player. Celtics and Magic. Celtics were winning most of this game, but it was tied with 3 minutes to go. And then just the lack of offensive punch. Celtics really dig down. Porzingis, with some big shots. They're fully healthy. And the sixth man of the year, Pritchard, he's a nice piece, man. But the Magic was a tough beat if you had Magic +8 last night because they was tied with 3 minutes to go. Pacers all over the Bucks early in, even when they're up 10 or 12, and Lillard goes down, Achilles, and they are beyond done in this one. This is a tough matchup for the Bucks, but after they blew a second half double-digit lead, the Pacers never batted an eye in that one. But Lillard, this thing he's pretty deep into his career, and this is something that he's probably out for all of next year as well. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Saturday night, no Jimmy Butler. Okay, they're too dependent. Looks like the Rockets would have a big advantage. Line went from like 4.5 to 2. The Rockets are cruising along. And then just here comes Steph Curry, and the Rockets' offense really bogged down. But they flipped that one from a double-digit second half deficit to a double-digit lead. The Thunder against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies were game. I don't know where they got 15, 16-point line because they never came close to covering that. They do lose and complete the sweep there. And the Cavaliers and Heat, that was over from jump. That was 20 out the shoot. They killed them in the game. The game of the call, have you seen this? Where they review it? And what is the rule? They say he has to release his fingers. It could be through the hoop, but he has to release his fingers. I'm not sure it did that, and I looked at it 10 times, and I'm not still sure of if it should have counted or not. I know this general rule of replay. Would you call on the court? Well, ultimately, that's what won out because that Gordon, and what a great series it's been, between those two teams. Because right when you think the Clippers clearly up, they went off 7.5-point favorites in that game on Saturday night. Nuggets with a big win, and we go back to Denver tied 2-2.
Warriors, Jimmy Butler this remains questionable for tonight's game. The line's 3.5. Does that indicate anything?
Who's favored?
Golden State at home.
That's a hedge.
Okay.
There are some reports that they expect him to
that's a hedge. Yeah.
He's still listed as questionable.
I'll say that line will not go off at 3.5. It will go a little higher if he's good to go, and maybe definitely a little lower. Actually, it might lean toward that he's playing because this is the desperate spot, and the desperate spots have cashed in, and the public is following him right now. So if he's not playing, if he had a chance of not playing, the thing would be closer to a pick 'em because the Rockets are in the desperate spot.
Cleveland, an 8.5-point choice to close out the Heat tonight. That is game number 1. Those two games tonight in the NBA. We're here at Queen, downtown Baton Rouge, the DraftKings Sportsbook. Great place to watch your games.
Don't forget our friends over at Total Diamond Performance. Total Diamond Performance, my friends, Mr. Matt Mastretta and the great guys over at Total Diamond Performance, because the new facility at Burbank in Gardere and doing their thing, man. You are right in the heart of the tournament season. And so if you got that youth league player playing in a tournament ball, get involved with us. Matt Mastretta, you can contact him at matt@tdpbaseball.com. Nick Schneider as well, nick@tdpbaseball.com. Individual lessons, couple of individual lessons, a couple of lessons, tutor lessons, team lessons, group lessons, structuring, how to structure, practices and things like that with the coaches, to interact with them and try to give them some pointers if you need that, if you need some direction. TDPBaseball.com, your youth league player, trying to sharpen their skills to enjoy it even more. Go to TDPBaseball.com.
Live at the Queen, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today's show also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners, because when it comes to retirement, no two situations are alike. So let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you, as well as your business partners, your legal team, your tax professionals, to make sure all your retirement goals are achieved. Coastal Capital Advisors will work for you, because I know for sure they work for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his staff, 337-981-1376, or online, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA SIPC. Two other, I thought, unfortunate situations happened around the Shedeur Sanders thing this weekend. One, they solved the mystery pretty quick about the crank call that went to Sanders on what I didn't know this. The NFL issues all of the draft guys phones that are supposedly secured. They don't call them on their actual cell phones. They call them on these phones provided by the NFL, and all of these numbers are supposed to be secured. Well, the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, Jeff Ulbrich, who was a former was a former interim coach with the Jets, left his iPad open at home apparently, and his son found the numbers for everybody and decided that they would crank call Shedeur Sanders, impersonate Mickey Loomis, of all people, and say that, hey, we're going to take you with our next pick, but you're going to have to wait a little longer. Sorry about that. It's just a really, really bad deal. He apologized for it yesterday.
He apologized once he got caught.
Once he got caught, yeah. It's just
he caught himself.
Real Bush League. Yeah, they put it on social media.
Put it on social media.
They made it very easy. They thought it was going to be funny. Regardless of what you think about Shedeur. And apparently they crank called a couple other guys too, but Shedeur was the story for so much of this thing.
It hurt his dad, because you got to be tied to that.
And just as Bush League a thing as you can do. I mean, it doesn't even matter what you think of Shedeur Sanders. That was just absolutely, I thought that was terrible. Probably making an appearance in No Class tomorrow for sure. The other one, I've been watching Mel Kiper for a long time, okay? If you listen to this show, you know I was the kid that faked being sick so I could stay home to watch the draft in the 80s, okay? I was that big of a geek about this thing. So I've been watching Mel Kiper since the early 80s. I respect what Mel does. He obviously does his homework. I mean, if you ask Mel Kiper in February about a safety from Delaware that's going to go in the 6th round, he can give you some detailed information about it. And he's opinionated, which you want. Draft's a television show now. All of that's fine. But, man, I thought he went so overboard, and I'm not alone in this opinion, obviously, on where Shedeur Sanders was dropping in the draft. I thought he made it personal, and I don't know why. At the beginning, I thought it was just, well, Mel's a little embarrassed, I guess, that he's missed so badly on this pick. But he wasn't the only one. If you didn't have Shedeur Sanders in the first round, you had some company. But if you didn't have Shedeur Sanders in the first 3 rounds, you were by yourself. I must have looked at, 500 mock drafts in the month leading up to this thing, and none. Not a single one. Even if you wanted to be out there and make a splash and say, hey, Sanders isn't going to go to the 2nd or 3rd round, nobody
I
had him in the 5th round.
I think the limit on that side, the slide side, was, I can't find, I forget, maybe McShay, I can't find any front office personnel that has a first-round grade on him.
Right.
That's it. But, yeah, -3, no, nobody had him going. But that was the biggest sort of I can't find anybody that has him as a first round.
And it was one thing to say, listen, I think this team, one of the more famous draft day things is when Kiper took the shot from the Colts GM, and that was when the Colts were terrible. You say this team has mismanaged it, okay? The Browns, the Jets, the Colts, whatever. You can say the Saints made a huge mistake in missing a quarterback in the first round. Okay, that's fine. But when all 32 teams have made a conscious decision to pass on the kid more than once, all right, well, they've made their evaluation and you disagree with it. I thought he made it personal, and maybe it is. I think the Deion factor is real, okay? I don't think it's why all 32 teams passed on him, but were there some front offices that said, we don't want a lot of media attention on our backup quarterback or our third-string quarterback or somebody that may or may not ever play for us? I get it, okay? He wouldn't be the first guy, and maybe it's not his fault, but it's there's a lot of perks that go along with being Deion's kid. There's some drawbacks too.
It's good and bad with every situation
That's
in
right.
the world. That's right.
And Kuiper kept after it so much to where it was almost like it was his kid. And Reese Davis and Louis Riddick had to kind of call him down yesterday and or Saturday and say, "Look, Mel, we get it. You had him rated as your top-rated quarterback, and here we are on day 3, and he's still not picked, and you're upset about it, but you're going a little overboard." I'm paraphrasing. And he starts, they passed on Tom Brady. The NFL has misevaluated quarterbacks for 50 years. Okay, now you're putting a lot of eggs in this basket.
He's doing it 40 years, Charlotte.
They've missed on guys. Okay, everybody misses on guys. Nobody gets this.
Can he
exactly
be a little
right.
past his prime? He's doing it 40 years.
I know.
How old is he now?
He's 64.
Okay.
I think Mel is still sharp. His information, if you, like I said, you ask him about a safety from Delaware, he'll tell you height, weight, and 40
some media personalities that don't take being wrong in the best way. Some are better at that than others.
Yes, and we've all made predictions that we'd like to have back in this business, but
right.
I thought he took it so personally. I thought it was a little embarrassing for him, obviously, and I respect what Kuiper does. Okay, somebody's going to, when you give an opinion on the draft, somebody somewhere is going to disagree with you, and more than likely somebody somewhere is going to be mad at you about it. But my goodness, did he take this thing over the top? I was surprised.
More than you expected.
Yes, absolutely. Way more than I expected.
I don't know Mel's relationship, if he has one with Deion. I do think some of the media coverage of this was a little compromised.
Yes, that's safe to say.
Deion's worked at Fox. He's worked at NFL Network. You could almost sense it with some of the older NFL Network guys, the tenured guys, Rich Eisen, whom, I think they handled it as well as they could, but it's like, they know Deion. They've worked with him. He's probably a friend to a lot of them. It's a little bit uncomfortable to say, yeah, I think this guy's going to slide to a day 2 or day 3 pick, and you can kind of tell. It felt a little bit awkward.
I think the coverage of Sanders and his kid it gets personal with a lot of people that cover it. And because he gets a pass on some of the stuff, and some of the stuff, I mean, there's nothing that you can convince me that the big whoever at Colorado, anybody but Deion Sanders is trying to get a quarterback who has 10 wins, combined wins over 2 years, and getting his jersey retired immediately.
Didn't help him.
That hurts you, kid.
It really does.
That you making it so much harder on him, and he's the part of being entitled. And Mel made one point. It's like he said, he's afforded all the riches already of what you get in the NFL. So part of that is true. He doesn't have a transition where he's going to get thrown all his money and how he handles it and handles all the hangers on. And he's already dealt with that. And I get that. But I mean, if you don't think there's a price of trying to market yourself all the time and putting your watch, showing your watch.
Yeah.
But some people just want you to care about football, and more. And I think some are going to get it, and some are not. More and more, that luxury vehicle you're demanding in college is going to cost you more in the NFL. Because if you're good enough to get one of those cars in college, you're good enough to play in the league for an extended period of time. And they're going to find out if you want to play football or if you want the things that come with football.
And that's why Nico Iamaleava, thank you, is taking the heat that he's taken, because they're saying, listen, if you're as good as you say you are, this money you're going to get from Tennessee or UCLA is going to pale in comparison to what you get in the league. Now,
nobody is. I can't. If my son, he's got great grades, and somebody comes and offers him that much more money to jump schools or whatever, I mean, we're going to do what's in the best. That's going to help him out. I mean, we're going to consider that, absolutely. Nobody's faulting for every money. But when you come in with these luxury items in demanding these 6-figure cars, man, come on, dude. That's not a necessity. That's not enough money in my pocket to take my girlfriend to the movie.
Right.
That's not me. That's BS. And it hurts them, man. No. That just absolutely hurts them.
No, I think all of that is true, but I think other things can be true as well. And Bruce Marshall and I and you were on a little thread during the draft the other night. He says, I think this is all about Deion. I said, I think it's a little bit about Deion. But if Travis Hunter was Deion's son, he's still going in the top 2 picks. Okay?
That's the whole thing.
So there are some people that, despite Deion, didn't think that Shedeur was worth a high pick.
Okay, but
some.
Well, first of all, they play different positions.
Oh, they do.
And quarterback is a position of leadership.
Yes.
Okay, and so those
and
things
gets overdrafted too.
Those things matter a lot more. I mean, if you're worried about leadership in the NFL, wide receiver, we wouldn't have any wide receivers. We'd be running, running 3 tight ends. Okay, I mean, but the thing is, he's not good enough to overshadow all that stuff as well. Absolutely.
And that's my point. Travis Hunter is good enough to overcome any type of, external stuff, most of it. And Shedeur is not.
And so some of it is player evaluation.
Yeah.
Some of it is his attitude. He had to piss. I can't believe all the smoke is inaccurate on the interviews.
Right.
We'll
never know, but I think that's right.
And it was, and in the most popular one, it's personal too. I mean, they got piled on. And he can't play, or he's a terrible athlete, or he's not he's not close to the athlete his father is. He's not a great athlete, but he's not. It's not like he can't run at all. I mean, I've seen way less athletic quarterbacks than him, and I've seen way more athletic. He's kind of middle of the road.
Try what I mean? Take all the bias out of it. Where Garden Variety team, not specific to anybody, where would you have taken him?
If he was just Joe Blow.
No. If he's Shedeur Sanders and you had a pick in the draft this weekend, where would you have taken him? I would have taken him on day 2. Somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's where I would have
I'd have taken him where the Saints took Shug.
Okay, it's 2nd round.
If that's their situation, I think he could play more than Shug.
Yeah, I thought he would have been a huge risk in round 1, but in round 2 or round 3,
and he's got things to do. And Phil Yates kept it to the football. Man, when he turned 2nd and 15 into 2nd and 24 because he's running backwards and he's not elusive enough to get there. How many times have we seen that? We saw that all the time. I mean, you kept it to the football. No, he's got to improve some things, and I can't kill him because they only won 10 games. If he gone to Ohio State, you don't think they would have won all the games?
Sure
they would have.
Absolutely,
sure they would have. And he's better than Ohio State quarterback.
And Deion has done a really nice job. I mean, if his name wasn't Deion Sanders, if his name was John Smith, and you say, what'd you do? Okay, you were a high school coach, you became a college coach, you won 2 championships in a smaller conference, you moved into a bigger conference, you took a team with 0 wins, brought them to 4 wins, then brought them to 9 wins. That's a good job, okay? You've done a very nice job there. But he's Deion, so it's everything else that goes along with it. I also don't think, and if what we're hearing out of Cleveland is true, that the owner came down and said, pick this guy, I don't think that's a good thing for Shedeur either. And I'd say that no matter which owner had done that.
Charlie, of course he did it.
And if you're the front office and you've already taken a quarterback in the 3rd round, in which, by the way, I would have taken Shedeur Sanders over Dylan Gabriel 100 times out of 100.
Did you see them when they turned in the pick?
It's the fancy.
Like if you needed any more proof?
So you're forcing this guy on a coaching staff that doesn't want him. I would have wanted it to happen organically. If it's the 6th round, if it's the 7th round, so be it. Give me a coach that says, yes, we feel like we could do something with that guy.
It's like little trick-or-treaters at my house. When they take too many and the parents make them go give some back, that's the expression they had.
How does it usually go when the owner gets involved in personnel decisions for the coaches?
But it's almost like if you're a Browns fan, you don't think he gives you a better chance of winning than Dylan Gabriel?
Yes.
Joe Flacco might get him to the playoffs this year, but he has a ceiling, and he's not playing
and
for more than
Stefanski and the GM, I don't know the GM's name,
if
they had decided that and not Jimmy Haslam, then I'd have been fine with it, sure.
But Haslam made him. You go from undrafted, you might go all the way out the draft at this point to you move up to take him.
Yeah,
he's the other thing. You're doing it now. I mean, that's not the only thing because they didn't even say no. You taking him if he's there again. You say, no, now.
Go get him.
Go find somebody to move down.
So right off the bat, he's going into a coaching staff in a front office that really
he's going into an environment, and he may be humbled through this whole thing. He's got to be embarrassed. The smartest thing they did was stay home, okay?
Yeah.
Because he could have easily been there.
Yeah.
I mean, most people had him going somewhere in the first round, huh?
Yes.
Okay, he got invited.
He did.
They don't invite everybody,
He did.
and they have to go on their council by that.
The low room
their
and
projection.
all that, yeah.
But he can play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Now, I'm with you there. There's an opening.
I've seen worse. But he would be great to play behind Flacco, just sit back and be patient and wait, and then you just kind of blend in.
Yeah.
Just blend in a little bit. He needs some blend in his freaking life.
That was another reason I liked him going to L.A. It's a lot easier to blend in L.A. You're not the number one story. Cleveland, you're going to be a lot bigger story. In L.A., you got an easier chance to blend.
That could work both ways, buddy.
Yeah, social media goes anyway.
No.
I'd have rather him be with McVay.
He would be rewarded for just doing things. He needs to change that. He needs Cleveland lifestyle to try and blend in and just worry about football instead of all the other BS with.
He's going to get a chance. Total Maintenance, your one-stop shop for heating, AC, generators, electricity, and plumbing since 1980. Their slogan has been service today, every day, so you're not going to sleep uncomfortable. Right now, you can get your AC checked. Get the discount when you mention Jimmy Ott, Charles Handegriff, Max Gautreaux, Jordan Kinchins, anything from Live at Lunch, and you'll get that $100 discount. Full-service staff in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daikin, and Rheem AC units, and Generac and Cummings generators. Electrical and plumbing needs as well. In Baton Rouge, it's 480-1000. In New Orleans, 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. Live at Lunch from the Queen, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Westside Kid John Foster Benoit is in the top 12 of American Idol. They're back tonight. Go vote for him if you can. Really talented singer. He sang Jailhouse Rock from Elvis. Crushed it last night. He's growing on the show. Really good kid. He performs on the West Side all the time. A tremendous student from what I hear. So he's in college now, goes to LSU. But John Foster Benoit, go vote for him tonight on American Idol.
I saw him do his version of Callin' Baton Rouge, which was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that on Twitter.
Well, tell the family keep the hoghead cheese right, though, you know.
Oh, yeah. They do a good job with that, too.
Good for him. We're rooting for him. Hope he does well. Double game in the NBA tonight. We got the Cavs closing out the Heat and the Rockets and Warriors. Jimmy Butler questionable right now. Warriors lead that one 2-1. Thanks to the folks here at the Queen for being our host tomorrow. We're at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. For Max Gautreaux, for Jimmy Ott, for Jordan Kinchins back in the studio, and Charles Handegriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Hunt Palmer makes his triumphant return. That's next here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.